It feels like it's been ages. Anyway, I don't think it has. It's probably been about 10 days. But it does feel like it's been a while since I've managed to get live. Anyway, here we are. And I want to talk about Facebook ads because in this session really came about because we were talking to some people who were booking in strategy calls. And usually it's the same kind of thing that comes in off a strategy call. So they'll either say something like, I've run Facebook ads, I've tried it myself, and we just burnt through cash. That's number one. Or they use somebody else to run Facebook ads, and it's normally like a little one-man band freelancer type thing, and they're paid, £100, £200 a month for the management of those ads, and they just burnt through their ad campaign. And this is the reason why that actually happens. It's because the people that you're using to do that hasn't got enough experience and don't actually understand the mechanics of a complete funnel, which is what you need in order to be successful when you're running Facebook ads. Because if you're just running some ads and then driving those adverts to a landing page without any real thought about conversion, click-through rate, cost per acquisition, cost per click, everybody wants a cheap cost per click, but really, is that the best result? Really, can you get 20 pence cost clicks, for example, which I'm sure you can in some areas, but the quality of those leads are going to be pretty dreadful, sadly. And so it's not cost per click that you need to be looking at, it's cost per acquisition. How much does it actually cost you to bring on a client? And these are the things that a lot of people don't even talk about. We want Facebook ads. Oh yeah, it's X amount of pounds per month. None of this conversation around, well, how much is it actually going to cost you, and what's your cost per acquisition, and how much profit do you make per customer, and then what's your repeat customer? How many times are they going to buy from you? So for example, in my business, when we run a Facebook ads campaign, we might bring somebody on, they might pay, let's say, £1,000 a month. They might pay £1,000 a month. We have a special offer on right now, it's 50% off, so they pay £300 a month for the first 2 months. But think about that. If it costs us, let's go with that one, if it costs us £300 to find that client, and this is, by the way, this is what normally happens. When that client comes on board, they use us for the first 2 months, they actually end up staying, and actually they end up buying more stuff from us. And so when we talk about the lifetime value of a customer, that's really where you should be focused on your Facebook ads as well. But most people aren't focused on that. They're just focused on that very singular metric, which is, well, what's the cost per click? Because I need that to be the cheapest possible, without having this conversation of, well, actually, is that accurate? And they think it is, right? Because they don't really know how to run a funnel or the lifetime value of a customer, because maybe they've never had those conversations, or it's just not being brought up in that phone call. So when we speak to our strategy calls, that's one of the things that we actually want to understand is, if we generate 100 leads this month, how much do you make on that? We had a guy and he wanted to do wills, and it was like, how much do you make on a will? It's like 30 quid. I'm like, dude, it's going to cost you 30 quid to get a customer. So what's the upsell, or what's the average, what's the lifetime value of that customer? What else can you sell them? Nothing, just a 30 quid will. And it's like, and that's the profit on the will. And it's like, that's not really going to work. And a will writing business is a dreadful business to be in, I think, because you keep on having to get new customers. And then the cost per acquisition for a customer is very high, and the actual average profit per customer is very low. It's a dreadful business model. And it's sold with this idea that you can go out and have freedom, and everybody needs a will, which they do, of course, but not everybody wants a will or has a will, or what percentage of the population actually has a will in the UK? Not that much. And your costs are too high and your profit's too low, so it just doesn't work. So you've got to have that conversation, and sometimes it might be the first time you've even had that conversation. You might not actually know how to have that conversation with yourself, and you need to book in with us so that we can actually have it with you and just guide you through that process. But when you're running Facebook ads, there's a whole funnel that has to be built in to running Facebook ads, and most people don't get this. They just run some ads, they have some adverts, and they just don't work. Like, people are clicking them, and that's it. It's like, crickets. Nothing is happening. We're not filling in forms. There's no actual leads. And unfortunately as well, this has to be said, we hear this quite a lot. We go, oh, well, I'm not getting good quality leads. And it's like, well, not every person who signs a form or fills in a form is going to be a good lead. You have to go through the leads, right? You have to qualify them in or qualify them out. And yeah, I get if you're getting 1,000 leads a day, actually, and only 10 of them are any good, then yes, you should be putting some things in place to act as a qualifier on the advert to stop that amount of leads coming through. But most people don't get that anyway. Only then, when you're actually getting something like that, should you put something like that in place. Until then, what should happen is, and we've just done this both for ourselves because we get a mixture of good quality leads and bad quality leads. One of our clients, who's I can't say who it is, unfortunately, but a very large, well-known coaching business, we've done that for them. And had this conversation around who is sifting through all the leads and qualifying them in and qualifying them out. And if it's the business owner, i.e. you or me, that's having to do that, we ain't going to do that. We've got a million other things to do. So you need to either hire someone or you can use one of our guys and they'll qualify the leads further. Now we've got the lead into the inbox, into your database, then we can hit the phones, speak to the person, what's going on, why did you fill it in, what do you need, etc. We can qualify that lead to being a good lead or a bad lead and pass the good ones over. And if you don't want to pay somebody else to do that, you should be doing that yourself. But the last thing I want to hear when we take on a new client is, well, I don't want bad leads. And it's like, well, first up, nobody knows if a lead is good or bad until you actually speak to them. That's the thing. So who's speaking to them? Nobody. I just want them to see the advert and I want them to buy. Well, really, in all realities, how often does that work? Now, we do have some clients where that does work because the intention of an advert is to purchase. Most people, especially when I go on Google, when they're searching, their intention is to learn. They're not the sort of people that you want to be running ads to. You want to be running people with an intention to purchase. And on Facebook, you can still run adverts to people with an intention to purpose, but people who have an intention just to learn or, oh, that's interesting, they will also click the link and fill in the form and that kind of thing as well. So just this week, and it's only Thursday, just this week, we actually had 2 strategy sessions that didn't even bother to show up. And we have, we send text messages, we send emails, and they still didn't manage to reach the call. And so, we're at that point where we're generating enough leads now for our own business that actually we're going to qualify all these people as well. They can still book the call, but if they don't show, they then get a follow-up call to, Bob, what's going on? You didn't show up. You had the call booked. You wanted to grow some business for your boiler company and you didn't show up. What's going on? What's the problem? Because we want to get into it and want to be able to help these people. And sometimes they don't value the call because they can't see a way out of the problem that they're in. Whereas we can see the solution to their problem because we've seen it in many other industries and we've helped people in all these different industries. So that's how that works. So you've got to be getting the right people visiting your clicks, and you would do that through better targeting. And this is actually one of the mistakes that people make, is they're not tight enough on the targeting. We had somebody and their previous agency, they were a plumber in, I don't know where, Leeds, let's just say, they were a plumber in Leeds, and we're getting leads from we're getting lead generation coming from like London. Like, well, what's the point in that? Then you're not going to drive to London to fix a leaky tap or put a new boiler in. It just didn't work, right? And it's like, the targeting is not right. And they're blowing money at this point. They're blowing other people's money, of course, because it's not Facebook ad agencies' money, it's the client's money. And it's a big no-no for us, is that we want to get really tight on what that targeting is. And then, and this is one of the pieces of feedback that we actually get from one of our more recent clients who spends a lot of money on Facebook ads. And this is the feedback. He said, I've never had an agency actually come back and give me suggestions as to what we should do next, or change the adverts and create new adverts so that we can test them and split test them and so on. Never had that. And I'm like, dude, that should be like basic stuff for a Facebook ads agency. That's what we do day in, day out. We eat, sleep and breathe it. And that's what your agency should be doing as well. But I think what happens is that most agencies, they get a client, they're so excited about getting a client, they're desperate for the next client, rather than servicing their existing clients. And the way that we do that in our business is separate. So my job, I'm the face of the business, and mostly when you fill in the form down below and you click the link to book in a strategy call, you'll get me, right? And my job is to grow the business and speak to various people and bring them on board as clients. I don't do any of the delivery. I do a little bit, which is usually working out what the actual advert should be. But I don't get involved in creating the text. I don't create the images. I don't create the actual Facebook ads itself. I don't create the forms. I don't connect Zapier with ActiveCampaign and Calendly. I don't do any of that. We have a delivery team whose specific purpose is to deliver for the clients that I bring on. And that's one of the reasons why, if you're using a freelancer who's on their own, the freelancer is always more worried about where the next client is coming from than spending time with existing clients to manage, because they always need more money, right? Whereas in our business, it's different. We have a whole division whose sole purpose is, how can we deliver for this client? My job is to go out and find the next client, which is completely away from the delivery. So we have a really good demarcation where it's split. So our delivery team can go and deliver, and our sales team and marketing team, we're just taking on a new sales guy, their job is to just focus on sales, bringing on new clients and that kind of thing. And again, if you're using a smaller one-man band, a freelancer, you will keep hitting the same problem. And it doesn't matter how many freelancers you go through, you're going to keep hitting the same problem because you've not actually solved the problem. You're just getting different solutions which don't work for that problem. So your advert has to get the clicks, and usually if you're sifting through too many leads, it's because it's not targeted enough. But to begin with, we actually just want to get crappy leads. Like for the first 2 weeks, we want to get that because we want the advert to be converting, because it looks good for Facebook and Facebook likes that, and it will spread the reach of those adverts. Next one then, your landing page. So what normally happens is, and we've seen this time and time again, I was doing some research for a solicitor in Leeds, and it was a divorce lawyer. And what they were doing was they were running Google ads, and then they go, are you getting divorced? Do you need a solicitor? Click this link. And so people click the link, go to their homepage, just completely generic, right? And it's like, well, what's the offer? Oh, there wasn't an offer. Well, the offer is just to phone us. And that's not an offer. Like in our business right now, we're running a 50% off Facebook ads campaign, where it's 50% off the first 2 months off our management fee. That's an offer, and that's converting quite well. I'm sure we can actually improve on that even further. I mean, you could improve on it really a lot by just giving it all away for free, but we can't run a business like that and help as many people as we want to help. But for this solicitor, that's what they were doing. I was like, dude, no, where's your landing page? What's the specific result that when they go on that landing page, what is the thing you're going to give them? What's the actual offer? And think about this in your business. What is the offer? We just spoke with a plumbing company, and they have 0% finance on their boilers. What an amazing offer that is. So, you're scrolling through Facebook, you just happen to need a boiler because you're buy-to-let landlords, which is one of the things that we'll target, by the way, on the targeting, or letting agencies, as well as just normal people as well within a certain radius. But 0% option, or 0% finance, I should say, is a really good offer. And so what is that offer on your landing page? And it has to be something good to motivate the person to take enough action. And if you haven't got that, then that person simply isn't going to click the form, click the link, and they're not going to fill in their details. And that's why not only is the advert going to fail, but your landing page is going to fail because you haven't actually got an offer on that. So how do you get people to opt in? Well, you've got to get people with this offer. And it's all about the offer. When we break down the anatomy of a Facebook ad, so you've got a headline, that can be title. Russell Brunson here would say that's the hook. So you can call it a hook. A hook is, to hook people in. You've got a hook, story, and offer. So you've got the headline, then and that's the hook. And then you've got the text, and that's the story. And then you've got the call to action, which is usually the link. What do you want the person to do next? And that's the offer. Or it could be, do you want to get 10 new clients in the next 14 days? Take 50% off our Facebook ads management fee and book a call down below, right? Like, that's not a great one, and our adverts are much better than that, but on the fly, and I can't think of it. I don't know what we run because I'm not in charge of delivery. Our delivery team are, right? Even on our business, I don't do the delivery. Our delivery team does it because that's what they do day in, day out. They have a much better grasp on what actually works and what converts than I do, because I don't eat, breathe, and sleep Facebook ads. Our delivery team eat, sleep, and drink Facebook ads. That's why it works. And if you're also not eat, drinking, and sleeping Facebook ads, you're like me, you're not going to get the results either. That's why we have a dedicated team who just do that. They read books on headlines, for God's sake. I can't think of anything more dull, although I have read a few of those books, I must admit. And I often think in headlines when I'm speaking with clients and so on. They sit and they read books on headlines, marketing hooks. They watch the videos and they do what, because that's their job. They're not doing all these other things that a business owner has to do. Their job is just to do paid ads, Facebook ads, Google ads, and so on. So now you're getting people to opt in, and that's only usually like 20% of the job done, right? You've got an ad that converts, that gets clicks, you get people to fill in a form, download the free guide. That's 20%. Well, what's the other 80% then, Dan? Well, the other 80% is you've got to follow up these people, because most people aren't going to buy on day one. They're going to see your advert and go, oh, I'm just going to buy that. Here's my credit card. But it just doesn't happen. It's 2025. Like, no one's doing that in 2025. But everybody has massive trust issues. So first up, they're going to go onto Facebook and they're going to start checking all your Facebook stuff and your LinkedIn stuff and Twitter and TikTok and Instagram and everything else, right? Because they're building a picture in their head about whether they actually trust you or not. This is one of the reasons why we always suggest or insist really that you should have content. And, you know, we do an interview with our clients and then we pull out little short videos and some images, and then we post all that across social media, so that when a person is checking you out or checking out our clients, they can see that they're actually a bona fide business, to build that trust and build that confidence that they actually do exist and aren't just going to run off with your money. But let's face it, trust is ruined in 2025. Nobody believes anything anybody says. You know, just look at the politics, for God's sake. No one believes any of that stuff anymore. So, so now that you've got all that done, you've got to follow up. And this is the other 80%. 80% is in the follow-up. And actually, it's something that we've been really bad at, which is why we just recruited a sales guy to actually follow up all our leads. And we do okay on our leads, because we have, you know, about 20% who are ready to buy. Sometimes it's 5%, depending, you know. We call it the traffic light system. 5% are green, 20% are amber, and the ambers are they might buy, but they need a bit of cajoling, and the other 75% ain't buying anything. You could give away gold-plated Ferraris with 25 Bitcoin, they're still not buying, right? Because they don't trust you, it's all a scam, blah blah blah, right? So we understand that. But the sweet spot is obviously that 5% who are green, ready to buy, they buy. The other sweet spot is the other 20% who need some reassurance, need some trust building, need some relationship building. That's why the initial 20% is on all the stuff, your ads and your landing pages and your conversion, and the other 80% is in your follow-ups. What's your nurture? Let me say that again. What is your nurture sequence? The list of emails that you're about to send all those people and over how long a period, and then what else are you giving? Are you hitting the phones and phoning them up? Hey Bob, you downloaded the guide. What business are you in? What problem are you trying to solve? These are the conversations that you have to have. And one of the big things that we see quite often is that people come on board and we're going to go, oh, I want more sales, but I don't want to speak to anyone. I just want to automate them. And it's like, dude, I'd like to be 6'5" and play for the, I don't know, for the Lakers, but it's not going to work in the basketball. That's not going to happen, right? We can't pick and choose how we want our clients to purchase from us. Most won't purchase from us if everything is automated. The one thing that you can control is the conversation when you get them in a conversation. But if you never have that conversation, how do you even know what they think? They might say, you know, once you get them into a conversation, they might say, yeah, I want to use you, but I need some reassurances, right? But if you never get into that conversation, how can you offer any reassurances or build trust other than through emails? It doesn't work as well. So you have to, the manual stuff, which is getting on a call and actually speaking to people. I know, heaven forbid, it's 2025, but that's where sales are. And too many people are trying to automate that process and then wonder why the whole thing doesn't work and it all falls down. So I hope you find that useful. And if you want to hit me up, come and find me on social media. I'm not that difficult to find. And we'll catch up with you in the next podcast. Hope you're well. Have a wicked day.